Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to examine and speak about something that most men and women who are entitled, privileged, and the takers of life, or very selfish and self involved, and also could be potentially narcissistic as well, don't realize about karma or what unfolds in our person's life based on the choices they make, either immaturely, selfishly, narcissistically, and at the expense of another human being who might have given them genuine love, genuine care, were supporting them genuinely, were loving them genuinely, and investing a lot more things than their spouses or partners gave them credit for. And even though people who go through these kind of relationships with their partners where there is a very big imbalance and unequally yoked partnership happening in a relationship, what happens is when one partner has been giving in a lot into their relationship than the other person, or when one partner gives into a relationship energetically, monetarily, and in other subtle ways that people usually give care, show support in their relationships, when that which a person who's a giver brings into a relationship is really of a deeper level, soulful level, meaningful level, greater level, and has been consistently deeper, greater, more soulful for a while. Many people take, who are the immature ones or narcissistic, selfish, self-involved ones, they keep receiving what they are getting freely from another, but they do not have that processing capacity, emotional capacity, internal nature. They haven't awakened their consciousness enough to understand how much they have been taking from someone else. And that's when universe and God will actually put in some negative circumstance in their life to break apart a unequally yoked partnership, because this is what karma is as well. People don't realize karma isn't simply that I gave you $1 and you give me back $1 sometime in the future. Karma is not like that. Or karma isn't that I loved you for 10 years, you have to love me for 10 years. Karma is all the internal things also you were doing. Karma is interconnected with a person's dharma. Karma is basically the choices you're making, the actions you're doing, and dharma is basically the spiritual thing you are doing. And it is, even though it is a Hinduism or Buddhism term, it is applicable to all human beings of any denomination. It's exactly like how when Jesus Christ was also talking about Christianity related principles and setting up the principles of Christianity which spread only after his death, but what he was teaching his disciples were also some similar principles that are applicable to everyone. That's why there were so many people who later on got converted from a different religion into Christianity. So when something is very universal, that is how it works. A universal principle, even if you are born into a family from a different religion, different way of living, if at that point of time in your life you're meant to awaken to that universal principle, it doesn't matter what religion you grew up with, what upbringing you had, whether you never believed in God, whether you never believed in any of the principles I'm talking about in this video, but you're believing it and not believing it will not essentially, like people can say karma, dharma, these are all Hinduism, Buddhism terms, Eastern philosophies, so it's not going to be applicable in my life. But this example that I'm going to show, which is an example from California, and the people involved in this story, I presume might be either Caucasian or maybe Native American, Caucasian mixed heritage or something like that, right? So they are normal, typical Americans, and the same story can unfold for any American couple or any couple globally. Also, this similar story could have unfolded in their life. So because the principle of karma was applicable to them as well, and principle of dharma was applicable to them as well. That is what unfolded in the story. So in the story, the wife is a technician who is a contract worker. So she goes and works in different hospitals and clinics for the ultrasound work that she does. And being a contract worker, she has a wide area where she can work. I've worked in US healthcare. I've also worked and floated in US healthcare as a pharmacist. So I know sometimes when I was floating as a pharmacist, I also, like her, had these experiences where I had to drive 2 hours away to substitute work in a different location than my usual location. So for her, what unfolded was that they were struggling with finances, because of which she would take all these extra jobs. They were also wanting to have a kid, and even though she was married for a long time, she was not having a kid. So maybe she was also thinking about infertility treatments or other alternatives to have a child. So as a result of which, I'm sure she was trying to also collect extra money so that maybe she can afford a infertility related, IVF related procedure, or any other thing that a doctor might have suggested to her in order to improve their chances of having a kid. And in the first few sentences only, she says that when she has been wanting to have a kid for many years, her husband was unbothered. That itself, many women, if they have been married for multiple years, if your spouse is not caring about such an essential element of a married life, like unless before marriage you had discussed that you're never going to have kids, if you weren't ever in that kind of a marriage where before you got married or in the first few years of marriage you have had discussions where your partner has told you that they are not interested in having kids, other than those exceptional scenarios, most of us, when we are getting married to someone, we are hoping to have a long-term life with them, long-term life with kids with them, because that is the standard norm of all marriages, except if you have all these exceptional cases where beforehand you have discussed that you don't want kids. So if you had wanted to have kids for a while, your husband knows that you want to have kids and they are not bothered, that is the first red flag you should have in a relationship, that something is wrong if your spouse is not concerned about your relationship future as a couple. Especially if you are emotionally very much interested in that, but your spouse is showing the least bit of emotional interest. This by itself shows they are either immature, selfish, self-involved, or narcissistic. Now, what they are actually will unfold according to the choices they make, the decisions they took, the things they do in the relationship that show whether they were just simply being immature or unaware, whether they were really highly selfish and the taker kinds, or narcissistic and only care about what they get in a relationship. Now, what unfolded in this couple's life was that she went as a technician to work in a hospital that was a couple of hours or an hour away from her usual city. So in that new city that she has traveled to, or a new district that she has traveled to in California, when she is doing the ultrasound for a pregnant lady, she was shocked to discover that the husband has come with a pregnant lady, and he was busy on the phone, so he didn't observe his wife of 10 years who was also wearing a mask. So it's a little difficult to recognize your spouse, especially if he was on the phone. He's not paying attention to either woman. But she found out that this lady was pregnant woman who has come was his mistress. Now, many men, this is the karma of those men, and many people in some of the comments, some of the people are what unfolded was that this man was having an affair and got this mistress pregnant, and he filed for divorce because he got discovered. In the video it says he got divorced because he didn't want to have a child out of wedlock, but maybe that was one of his reasons. But his main reason he got divorced was because obviously this wife is knowing now that he is cheating on her. They might have had after that day their relationship had obviously crashed. So this wife also was insistent that she will not give him divorce when he just asked her to. And in California, I have been divorced in California, so I know that sometimes people file for divorce just via an annulment first. So she didn't want to sign possibly the annulment papers. So that's why he took her to court to get the divorce proceedings done via court, when mutually the annulment or mutually a signing of divorce paper was not possible. And luckily for her, it was a good thing it went to the court, because the judge also saw how unfair it was that for 10 years she has been giving into this relationship, and this is how her loyalty was paid off. And because California laws are fairer in some ways to marriages, long-term marriages, and even short-term also, they are sometimes fair, but I feel it's more fair if the marriages were long-lasting. So because of which he had to pay her alimony for life. And I'm sure the reason the alimony for life happened, many people do not understand this aspect, but it possibly happened because he was cheating, and it also happened because if they were only married for 10 years, usually a judge would only sign off for divorce with alimony for 10 years, or alimony where if the wife gets married, that alimony would be null and void. But why could the judge not give that kind of a ruling? The only scenario which I can think of, which is not mentioned in the video, but it is later on, you can infer from what happened later on in the video, is this, that within 3 years of their divorce, the man got broke. Like he possibly had to file for bankruptcy or something. But why did he get broke in 3 years after their divorce got finalized? And why was there a lifetime alimony that was given by the judge? Most likely because this man was possibly earning much less than his wife. That is the only scenario where a lifetime alimony like settlement would happen. And also because he was cheating on his wife, that was possibly another factor that led to it. But if his salary was much lower than his wife's, most probably the judge knew that if with such a low salary, whatever percentage of his salary also would go to alimony for his wife, it is not going to be a great percentage if someone has a lower income. And obviously the judge doesn't want that man to get broke. So the judges are also not stupid. Judges are also pretty intellectual, especially in a country like US. Most of the judges who are in the justice system, legal system, they have a good sense of fairness and balance inside them. And because of which, he possibly, if the man has say a 40k salary and his wife had a 60-70k salary, then for a wife with a 60-70k salary, the judge would have only assumed that because the man was paying some household expenses of 5-10k, that much only the judge would have possibly given her, just for justice sake, not for the sake that a person who's earning 60k doesn't need the 5k or 10k of the husband that the husband was contributing in their marital expenses. But if he had normally been contributing that 5-10k of expenses in the marital life, and the wife was contributing, let's say having a 70k salary, she was the one contributing 30-40k in their joint expenses of 10 years, she was always contributing more and he was always contributing less because of his lower pay grade. But, and you know, this is a hypothetical example I'm giving based on this scenario that has played out, but this is the most likely hypothetical situation that happened, otherwise that man wouldn't have gone broke. So people need to understand this, because some people who've commented in the comments of this video have said, oh, paying alimony got him broke for or something like that. They are inferring in the kind of sentence structure they posted. Because many people think, oh, I shouldn't live. When many people will hear this video, they will think, or read this, watch it online, they will think that living in California is expensive, and if I pay alimony to my wife, I will go. I will not have a good life because all my finances will be taken away by the women. And many men actually globally, especially in countries like US, where laws, in developed countries where laws are balanced towards the women sometimes, because of the fact that men cheat on their wives, because of the fact that men take a lot from their wives, that these kind of laws are in place in more developed nations to make it fairer for the women who has given 10 years of her life to a spouse, has been nothing but loyal to the spouse. And I am guaranteed going to tell you that working overtime and taking the time to earn more money, she was, if her normal salary was maybe 50k, she tried to work extra hours to get that 70-80 extra salary, so that, you know, whatever expenses they had, if their household expenses were not getting met by just one person's salary. And I know California is a very expensive state to live in. I have lived there briefly, my friends live there, so I know how expensive that, friends and even some family live there, so I know how expensive that state is. So even this 70k salary of one person and 30-40k salary of another, total making it about 100, slightly over 100k, is sometimes not enough salary in a state like California. The same salary of these two people might have been a good salary in a less expensive place. I have lived in Utah also. So if these two couples, this couple was living in Utah, for them that salary would have been a good enough salary. But unfortunately in California, that is not a good enough salary for a family, especially if you are living in one of the expensive cities or one of the more expensive places of California. I'm sure in California also there are pockets of cities which aren't that expensive, but many parts of California are super expensive. So because of which, what would you think was likely unfolding in this couple's life? If the wife is earning even slightly more than the husband, she is possibly even contributing slightly more. And in India, there's something like women are usually given the status of Lakshmi, which is the goddess of wealth. What does goddess of wealth mean? Goddess of wealth means like women are supposed to be revered like that in their family life, which doesn't happen. Even though in our praying systems, women should be revered like the goddess of wealth. It's not that every man in India reveres his wife or values his wife, or any Hindu man reveres and values his wife as a goddess of wealth. They don't. But if they did, they will understand why women are considered like that, why they are considered as a representative of the goddess of wealth. Because wealth, a woman bringing wealth in your life, is not simply about a woman directly earning money and bringing wealth in your life, which definitely this wife was doing. That's why she was working extra shifts and taking extra jobs, and being this hard working woman, she was ready to even travel one hour to go and get a extra pay. But apart from her directly and actually physically, financially contributing to the more monetary aspects of their joint living expenses, women who are really like this embodiment of the goddess of wealth, they are the embodiment not simply when they earn the more money. Even if this wife was, let's say in one scenario, she earned slightly 10, 20, 30k over her husband's expenses, and that's why she was contributing also 10, 20 extra thousand extra every year in their living expenses. But let's say in another scenario, she wasn't earning more. Let's say she was either earning the same salary as him or even slightly lower salary than him. Then also that woman also would be the goddess of wealth's embodiment when she is a wise wife, when she, knows how to push the expenses that they have in the right way, balance the expenses they have in the right way, do the right financial management of their daily household operational expenses in the right way, then that woman becomes the embodiment of the goddess of wealth. And it was, obviously she was an embodiment of the goddess of wealth in his life, which he didn't realize. That's why in 3 years he got broke. Why? Because a wife who has been working hard for 10 years, contributing to who has been equitable and wanting to contribute equitably to household expenses for 10 years, even if she had the same salary as him, slightly more salary than him, slightly less salary than him, if she was a fair wife, kind wife, loyal wife, really good woman that Bible talks about or any other religion talks about, if she is really that embodiment of a good wife, that person would have done everything to make sure this man's life was really safe, secure, financially balanced, not going off balance in any way. But instead of valuing all these things that this woman was bringing to him in his life, where she was even ready to work extra hours to, pay for their household expenses and other expenses, what was he doing? He was not contributing financially as much as her, for sure. Not just not contributing financially as much as her, he probably didn't even look at his daily household expenses. She was looking at all the daily household expenses as well, or many aspects of their financial expenses also. She was carrying that burden as well. That's why she was the embodiment of the good wife, and the wife who is a giver, who is giving all the time, monetarily, emotionally, energetically, thoughtfully, doing things to ensure that their finances will go a long way considering the city they are living in. She was definitely doing all that. Then finally, this man, instead of valuing, and that a woman who's giving so much into their relationship, pouring so much into their relationship financially, thoughtfully, energetically, working the extra shift, you think she will have time when she's working the extra shift, when she's taking the time and energy to contribute more towards the financial thoughts related to their relationships struggles, or any other things that she is jointly trying to do, thinking that they are a joint partnership. Whatever she's doing jointly for them needs a lot of energy, needs a lot of, not simply financial thing that she is doing. Her working those extra 1 hour to go outside in other cities. I know how bad it is driving in California. I have driven 1-2 hours in California, or traffic also. I mean, more than 2 hours I've driven in California traffic, more than 2 hours I've driven in Utah traffic, and I know how stressful it is to drive in California. So that also takes a toll. Women, if she is a woman like me, and if you are a very, energetically a emotional person, energetically a nice person, energetically a balanced human, you will also get imbalanced when you're driving in stressful driving conditions, in roads where people with road rage are driving around you, people who are hurrying are driving around you, people who are crazily running after money are driving around you. You pick up those energies and you pick up that stress as well. So there's a lot of reasons why it is stressful to drive in California, and being a woman, it's 10 times more stressful, because women have a different set of hormones. So women having different set of hormones, if you are an empathetic kind, and the softer kind of a personality, it's not easy when driving through those places. So for her, I'm sure that was adding to her stress. Going all this extra mile to get the extra money was adding to her stress. And I'm sure these were all factors that were contributing actually physically to her health, and also preventing her from becoming a mother, because she was leading a stressful life all the time, pouring into her relationship financially and otherwise also. When the husband was not doing it, what was he doing? He just went and found another, possibly younger woman. She's 37 years old. This other woman might have been 27 or 30 years old, and he found a younger woman. So obviously that younger woman's life hasn't accumulated as much stress as this older woman's life. Secondly, not just that the younger woman's life hasn't accumulated other stress. What if that younger woman has never had to, comes from a richer family? So then again, she is much more relaxed. She has a lot of finances that her parents have given her. What if, even if she's not coming from a richer family, she's simply the kind who doesn't put thought and energy and care into any of the choices she makes? Because that also creates a difference. If you put a lot of thought, energy, emotions in the choices you're making, that energetically depletes you. If that energetic thought and emotions you're pouring into a relationship is not equitably poured back by your partner. So if equitability is not there, if unequalness starts happening, if imbalance starts happening, if only one partner is pouring a lot and the other partner is not pouring at all, or very less into the relationship than what that given a particular stage of their life needs, because what a man might need to pour into a relationship when it is a 1-year relationship is very different from what they need to pour into their relationship when it's a 10-year relationship. But many men who are selfish, immature, narcissistic do not realize this. and they are not, even if they realize it, they are unwilling to pour that into their relationship. And because they either don't realize it, or because they are deliberately unwilling to pour it into their relationship, they will see that their partner is giving more into the relationship, but they will just continue taking their partner for granted. And instead, that partner getting now pouring more and more is getting tired, is getting frustrated when she's driving long hours. You think at home life also she's going to be having the time and energy for devoting to the same level of sex they would have had in their life when they were 10 years younger? No, because in 10 years a lot of expenses could have been incurred. In 10 years, because she wants to now become a mother, she's starting to plan about motherhood. She's trying to save money for motherhood, she's trying to save money for in vitro fertilization, or maybe if they wanted to go for adoption, she's thinking about all those things. So she is planning for their present and future. She has been managing their present and future, while in the meantime, what has he been doing? Nothing. He's been the same 20-year-old person that he was. He assumes that his life as a 30-year-old should be the same as what it was as a 20-year-old. He hasn't grown up, he hasn't matured, he hasn't realized that his wife is giving all these things into the relationship, and he's continuously taking from her. And instead, not only taking from her all the comfort that she's giving to him based on the salary she has, all the comfort that she's giving to him based on the food she buys, because in 10 years, you mature as a human being. If you are maturing and evolving as a human being, if earlier you were buying any cheap food from the grocery store, now you won't buy just any random cheap food. In 10 years, and now that she's also thinking of becoming a mother, she's trying to eat healthy, buying healthier foods which are going to be more expensive, trying to buy the better things of life that will bring the better quality of life to them. But while she's doing all this, continuously doing all this, he is doing the barest minimum. And instead of, even spending 5,000, 10,000 in his wife, or thinking about, not financially thinking, but emotionally and energetically thinking how to make life comfortable for them, how to make life comfortable when they will have a kid, what should be involved in their life, that if a kid has to enter their life, that thing should be present. He didn't put any thought into any of these things. That's the reason why this girl was also secondary reason. The reasons associated with her own stress contributed to her not getting pregnant, but the reasons associated with this man being so selfish and immature also contributed to them not getting pregnant. But then why did he get pregnant with the other woman? Because of karma. Because there he is equally immature, narcissistic, selfish, self-involved as the other woman. So both of them are equally yoked there, because they are both immature, they are both selfish, they are both narcissistic. Something like whatever it is, there will be a very combination compatibility between them. Like one could be immature, other could be self-involved. That's why it will work with them. One could be narcissistic, another could be selfish. So again, it will work with them, because whenever relationship conflict will happen, the narcissist will do their thing, the selfish one will do their thing. And also, he's having an affair. So in the affair, what is he doing? He's only focusing on the sexual elements of the relationship, something his wife was not able to give, because she was even if she's focusing on the sex, she's focusing on the sex based on, she wants possibly a sex where the setting is soft, comfortable. She doesn't want the wham bam thank you ma'am sex anymore, which when you are in the beginning stages of your relationship with a partner, initially just the sexual chemistry and the fire between two people, and the lust between two people and the desire between two people can generate a kind of sex which is just wham bam thank you ma'am, or 10 minutes of sex and that's it, which pleases the man. A man can continuously live off of that 10 minutes, 15 minutes of sex, but a woman can't. And there is a reason why a woman can't, because you should have the slower sex, balanced sex, emotionally nurturing kind of sex. That sex is necessary. Why? because if you have the wham bam kind of a sex, you will get that wham bam kind of a child also in your life. And in comparison, if you have the softer sex, gentler sex, love filled sex, which is not lust filled, your child will also have that kind of balancing energy, nurturing energy, caring energy, loving energy inside them. Whereas the one who has been conceived out of hurried sex, trashy sex, you think that child's energy and what that child will be even brought up to now that the child will be born is going to be a crappy life. The child has a very bad life that is going to transpire for them. But even before the child was conceived, the genetics of the child will also be trashy. That child is more likely to be a criminal, more likely to be someone, because if you have one person who was selfish, one person who was narcissistic, you have the selfish and narcissistic genes only. And if you are going to be raised by one selfish parent and one narcissistic parent, you think you will not have some elements of narcissism, some elements of selfishness, and that selfishness, narcissism combined sometimes will cause that child to be a antisocial personality also. If both parents don't care about the child, or they care about his wham bam thank you ma'am sex and all the selfish things and lustful things of life, is the child going to be raised with any good principles? So that child is already lost. It's a lost cause. So if this woman regrets that for 10 years I gave my life to this guy, or regrets that, why did God give that family a child and didn't give me a child? Because of this reason. This woman's soul's intention was to have a beautiful life with a beautiful partner and a child who is as balanced, as fair, as loyal as her. But she would not have got that kind of a child if she had stayed with such a disloyal partner, imbalancing partner, immature or selfish or narcissistic partner. That's why God didn't give her a child that would later on have caused her a great deal of anguish and regret, or great deal of this child, because I can guarantee tell you this person's life in 3 years he went bankrupt, because his wife, definitely the second wife that he has married, she's definitely a selfish and narcissistic person. She also is likely the kind of woman who doesn't know, she might also earn the same 60-70k salary as this girl, but she spends her 60-70k salary in making herself look sexy. She spends that 60-70k salary in going out and partying and with friends, in going out and drinking and boozing and drugs or whatever. Her selfish pursuits will be what she prioritizes, and because she prioritizes that in her life, all the money that she is likely earning, hardly any of it goes into their marriage. And because nothing goes into that marriage from her side, like say she's earning 60k, he's also now earning 60k. Of the 60k, 10k goes to the first wife. Even with the 50k he earns, and maybe he got some promotion also, even with that, even if he had extra promotion, extra money, everything, he still will not be able to sustain a life with that other girl. Or because of the alimony, yes, maybe earlier he was earning 40k, 10k went to the first wife, but that 10k was anyways been invested by him in his 10 years of marriage. Judge will never give you a alimony that you were not usually paying for in your marriage. If you are capable of paying more than what you were paying for in your marriage, then the alimony amount might be larger. Like say, in a marriage, the husband was contributing 10k, the wife was contributing 20k, and there was all these cheating and other things involved. That's why the husband is getting the alimony. Because wife can also refuse. She can refuse to have alimony also because she's earning more than him, which is what I did in my thing. I wasn't even earning more, but I didn't take the alimony. I didn't want to take the alimony. Even though that 10k would have helped me, I didn't take it. But these kind of things can happen. Like even if she had never taken alimony also from him, this 10k also maybe that he was giving to her, the first wife, as an alimony, if that was also contributed back to him, instead of 3 years of bankruptcy, in 5 years he might have hit bankruptcy. That's the only difference that would have transpired. So many people who falsely believe that giving alimony to the first wife led to his bankruptcy is the false paradigm. What led to his bankruptcy is the consequence of his karma of devaluing a wife who was truly an embodiment of a goddess of wealth like person, who knew how to stretch the money they already had, who was even ready and willing to earn extra money to ensure they have a comfortable life. Whereas this wife will never, like the 10k also, if she never ever got the alimony, then also he would have been bankrupt. If she never ever, if she even returns back the alimony that she got for 3 years, even then his life will not get sorted, because he chose poorly. He chose a narcissist who is not contributing to home expenses at all. He himself is a selfish person, so he doesn't know that childcare expenses are also there. So while the wife might, she might be selfish, but let's say this new wife, out of the 60k she is earning, 10-20k goes into the childcare, 10-20k goes into her own fun expenses. There's nothing she can anyways contribute in that relationship. And earlier he was contributing 10k, now also he thinks if he contributes 10k, that is enough. But he doesn't see that the marriage was working for 10 years not because he was contributing 10k in his marriage. The marriage was working because the wife was taking the major load of the marriage in many aspects, from functional to operational to financial to emotional to energetic. And the moment a goddess of wealth is removed from your life, who has given all these things to you, the God has separated your blessing, because he didn't realize that he had a blessing in disguise in the form of his first wife. When you don't appreciate the blessing that you had received, you will naturally go into all these things. This is exactly the same thing that transpired in both my ex's relationships. One ex's relationship, I don't know what is his current relationship status, but I can guarantee tell you that she was not the wife who is going to easily let him not pay for things the way I let him not pay for things, or the way I was equitable about what he was paying in the relationship. So if you have a wife, like for him that was a troublesome thing, that I was trying to ask him to say no to certain things that he should say no to, like gambling, like drinking, like spending too much time with friends, when some of that quality time should be spent in just relaxing, just not doing something. There are many things in my second relationship I tried to inculcate into the life of my ex, but he was not willing to change and mature and grow up. Same way with my first ex, he was very much into all sex related stuff, nasty sex related stuff. If not nasty, like for an American it may not be nasty, for me it was nasty sex, because I wanted the kind of sex which is very different from what most people promote as sex. And I have read porn, I have watched porn, so it's not that I don't understand the elements of sex that men are looking for, but it is just not something that I am looking for in a relationship with a man. And if a man wants that in a relationship, it's not that he's not going to get that in other women, and which he got that in the wife he married. But that marriage completely combusted, and before the wife he got married to, for few years he was also getting it via phone sex and things like that. Then also his life completely got ruined. Why? Because of this reason, that if you do not understand and value what is actually meant to be valued and understood in life related to karma and dharma, your understanding of it doesn't stop the trajectory of the consequences of your choices from unfolding in your life. This guy who left a good wife, these two men, I'm not saying like I'm the best woman that they could have had, but my level of women can't enter in their life ever. The only low vibrational women only could have entered in their life who's at the same level low vibrational as them. And then as a consequence, when you get a high vibrational person or a better quality human in your life, they have only come to you as your karma to teach you certain life lessons, which is up to you whether you will learn that life lesson or not. He had 10 years to learn a good life lesson about what it means to, that guy in this story had 10 years to learn what it means to have a fair wife, balanced wife, equally contributing wife, really loving wife, really devoted wife, really ready to do anything to make their marriage work wife. But he was unwilling to do any of the things that she was willing to do. So naturally this marriage had to end. and the karma that has unfolded for him, this karma will continue to unfold. Even if he gets divorced from the second wife, it will continue to unfold in his life like this, only related to financial problems, health problems, wealth problems, work-life balance related problems, because he doesn't value anything that sustains good finances, that sustains good health, that sustains good wealth, that sustains, until he starts valuing any of the things that for 10 years he didn't value in his first marriage. His life will go into a spiral of negativity only, which is what transpired for all my exes. I am 100% sure it transpired for my second ex also, but he being a slightly more fairer guy. The first one was very unfair in the relationship, so his karma unfolded immediately within a few years. The second one, the more aware you are, the more better you were and as a quality partner to someone, the later your bad karma will unfold. But the more deeper you have done some crappy stuff, then the deeper your bad karma will unfold eventually at some point of time in your life. And that karma will hit you exactly when it is supposed to hit you. So for 10 years also, if the second ex decides that I had a 10-year good marriage, because he has by now at least a 10 years of good marriage, it wasn't 10 years of good marriage. The second guy, his marriage was not good marriage, it wasn't quality marriage. He is a very delusional kind of a personality, where he presumes what is good is, he doesn't understand the discernment between what is good, what is bad. But those kind of people are also there. Someone who's delusional, someone who is too narcissistic to realize where they are even going wrong in life. Even if multiple people have come by now in 10 years of his life to show him where he is going wrong. But there are some people who are like that also, who are immature, unconscious, delusional, think that just because they are smart and clever and they got away with a comfortable, cushy life for a few years, that their karma will not unfold based on whatever. And this is what God does also for some people. God will give you the rope to hang yourself, which is what the rope was in the story of this guy who got divorced and cheated on his wife. That he was given the whole rope of you want this sexy woman, you get the sexy woman, but you get also all the problems associated with that sexier looking. Like, I'm not going to say that the first wife was not sexy. The first wife was also sexy, but the first wife was sexy 10 years back when she was not contributing unequally to the relationship. At that time, of course, she was sexy. When you give everything to your relationship, then your energy goes away. If the other person is not giving you back the love that you have been giving to your relationship and each other. So if she kept giving and giving and he was keeping on taking, it's like how a battery gets drained in the phone, and after 70%, 80% battery is drained, some phones can start malfunctioning, some phones will not work as well, the noise in the phone will not be that great when the battery life is going down. It is like that. You have taken everything good, or you've drained the battery of your spouse, and you never poured back love, never poured back equitably, never given back the same thought, care, loyalty, anything back to that relationship. How is she going to be in continue being the same person that she was 10 years back? At that time, you were, at least in the beginning of the relationship, for 1-2 years you might have given something equitably in the relationship, but for the majority 7-8 years of your relationship, you didn't give back what you were supposed to give back, because you are supposed to evolve together as a joint partnership with your partner. And yes, your job pressures will be there, but she also had job pressures, and that's why you had to understand her also, that despite her job pressure, despite all the trouble she was facing in her job life or earning life, she was ready to go that extra few miles to even travel 1 hour to go and get extra pay so that you have a comfortable life with her. And instead, what was he doing? He ironically was also traveling that 1 hour, but for what? For 5 minutes of sex. or 5 minutes of seeing a beautiful woman. For that he was willing to travel 1 hour, 2 hour to go and be with someone seemingly more beautiful than his wife. But why is she seemingly more beautiful right now? Again, if he also continues in this marriage, his marriage is already combusted in 3 years, but let's say another 5 years this marriage continues, this wife will also be that level only like his first wife was. Because if you are a taker, you're always taking, never giving back, you're a narcissist, you're never contributing equitably to your relationship, you are a selfish, self-involved person, you don't understand what it takes to sustain and maintain and actually form a good united bond with your partner. Every time he will be in a relationship, he will be this scrappy and continue to be this scrappy in those relationships, and it will be irrespective of what money he earns. If today he becomes a millionaire, again you will see as a millionaire he will go and spend his life and earnings on women who will give him nothing except sex that he wants. If he is like, in that mentality, he can manifest actually a life filled with millions and decide that like the commenters who are thinking like, oh, I gave alimony, that's why. If he holds this mistaken belief that giving alimony got him bankrupt, God will give him that rope also. You thought that giving alimony got you bankrupt? Okay, I will double your salary or I'll make you a millionaire also. You can have that. But again, be doubling the salary, tripling the salary, becoming a millionaire, nothing. If he has been a crappy human, the consequences of that crappy humanity will show up in his life continuously in some form or the other. The first way it showed up was bankruptcy, but that is not the only way it will show up. And how it shows up, it really depends on what choices he makes, his karma and his dharma. The dharma he had was that being a spouse, he had to evolve in a particular way as a spouse with his first wife, and he failed to live up to that dharma. So everything he did according to what he was supposed to do with that first woman as part of his soul contract with her, he failed to do. And because he failed to do and live up to his own best potential, his life is also not going to unfold to the best life that was possible for him to have had. Because yes, his divorce with this 10-year marriage might have been very inevitable. That divorce was maybe never going to not happen. But what was going to unfold for him after the divorce was dependent on what he did in his life with this wife. Like if he had been more fairer, more loyal, more equitable in his expenses, his 3-year bankruptcy wouldn't have happened. Maybe he wouldn't even have had to pay alimony. Maybe that second marriage would have continued another 10 years for him with lesser trouble than what has unfolded in 3 years. But because he was not fairer, because he was not nicer, because he was not loyal, because he didn't learn how not to continue being an immature, selfish 20-year-old even when he's also potentially likely in his 30s or 40s, because he didn't learn to grow up in life. Consequences of not growing up in life shows up in some way or the other, and he can cry a lot in front of God for the regrets he may have after hitting the bankruptcy, and he can get back also all the money that he lost. Despite that, your quality of life is irrespective of the money you earn in some ways. He could have had a best quality life with this wife. Maybe if they had moved away from California, realized that some of their stresses is coming from living in a expensive city like California, they could have moved to Utah, they could have moved to a less cheaper city or less cost inducing city. They could have had multiple, a better quality life can unfold only when you put that thought, right? But when only one partner is putting all the thought for a better quality life and the other partner is not doing that, the other partner doesn't even care about having a better quality of life with the partner they have. For him, his better quality life was having the sex he wants. The sex he had 10 years back, he wants it again. That's all he was thinking about. He was not thinking about anything else, and that's why only nothing else is materializing for him or will materialize for him or anyone like him. And it doesn't matter. I gave a hypothetical scenario where he had maybe 30k salary. He could have been the richest person in California. He would still have gone bankrupt if despite being the richest person, if he marries and chooses poorly. One example of a rich person who keeps hitting bankruptcy is Donald Trump. And if someone does a case study on him, I would love to do a case study on him. I'm pretty sure that the first few years when he was really rich, he was rich when he was in presence of a wife who was the goddess of wealth for him. And as soon as either wife or parents or family, and as soon as those parents, family, wife, all those people who supported his success in the non-material ways, in the energetic ways, in the loving ways, in the caring ways, in the other ways, good human support someone they love, if all those women or all those people went away from his life, that is when his karma of bankruptcies and other things have unfolded in his life, one after the other, one by one. Not simply the day he became president, even way before he became president, his karma was unfolding. And because he's also the same, and Donald Trump is also actually very much similar to this guy who didn't value his wife of 10 years. It's just that Donald Trump is a millionaire or billionaire, and this guy wasn't a millionaire or billionaire. But bankruptcy hit both of them because they said no to the goddess of wealth like person in their life, or the caretaking supportive humans he has rejected via whatever decisions he has made in his life, in personal life, professional life, everywhere he has been rejecting the good humans who were sent to him to give him a better quality life. But despite being a billionaire, he still doesn't have a better quality life. And that's what most men don't understand. Many men and women don't understand that money is just a part of the game of life. Money is not the main game of life. And the main element of life that makes life truly a good quality life has less to do with money, more to do with many other elements. I hope this made sense. If you have any questions, please drop a comment. Thank you.